Hey guys, my name is Brandon and welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like what you see in here, you're more than welcome to hit the subscribe button so you stay notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, let's get straight on with today's video. Hey everyone and welcome back to Is That More Brandon. So in today's episode I'm going to be doing a review for the 9th episode of The Apprentice 2024. We currently have 9 candidates left, so let's see whether we have 8, 7, 6, 5 or maybe even 4 by the end of this episode, but I think we'll have at least 6 because we've still got 3 episodes to go. So, at the beginning of the episode, like I just said, Rachel said there's 9 of us left, and Flo said there's 9 of us left, and we've still got 2 more tasks to go, because obviously episode 12 is the final task with the final 2 people. And at 9 PM, they had a video call on the TV from Lord Sugar himself, and he basically just said that selling live on TV is one of those industries that is constantly doing well. So for the next task, they were going to be selling on one of the largest shopping channels, and yeah, they were going to basically be choosing their own items, selling the items, and the team that makes the most money would be the winner of the challenge. And he said he wanted to change the teams up, so he moved Steve over to the girls team, and he moved Phil over to the boys team. So Team Supreme, so the boys team was Feluso, Rachel with Trey and new member Steve. And Team Nexus, which was obviously the girls team, was Maura and Flo with Raj and Paul, and obviously their new addition of Phil. So 5 against 4, but sometimes quality is better than quantity. We may find that out later. And Maura basically just said, that was so scary, kind of, you know, having Lord Sugar on the screen before they even had gone to bed the previous, after the previous task. For the boys team, Trey basically said he wanted to put himself forward. Steve also said he wanted to put himself forward. And then Trey kind of went into a long speech as to how he's been on TV. He's been seen by over 100 million people, and he's knows a lot of people in the industry and that sort of thing. And then Steve basically said, all right, cool, well, I'm going to pull out as project manager then. It's over to you. So Trey was the project manager for the boys team. He said that he's also confident on TV. He's obviously quite happy being on TV multiple times. Yeah, a couple of 200,000 people, whatever. He feels like he's always quite fun and quite engaging. For the girls team, Raj put herself forward. She said she thinks that they should have a lot of outdoor products, and obviously think about the USP of the items. She wants to go for something outside of the norm, but go for something that people want. So kind of an item that is usable and is used, but something that's not like an everyday kind of item. So it's kind of a little bit of a backhanded confusion. It was kind of saying one thing, but also saying something completely else. She said if we can get something mainstream in large volume, then obviously we can make money on that as well. So again, Trey for the boys team, Raj for the girls team. Karen actually to the camera said that Raj's plan of going for something unique but also quite normal, it doesn't really work. You either have unique or you have normal. You can't have a bit of both. Phil also said to Raj that potentially they should go for like household items and then think of some sort of USP. So a household item or an unusual household item, something that people are going to use, but something that they're not going to go, oh, I've seen that before. They'll go, oh, I've not seen that before, kind of thing. And then for the boys team, Rachel said to Trey potentially something to do with healthcare, self-care, things like that. And Trey said, yeah, and probably stuff to do with gardens or being outside. And Steve said that they should go for things with maximum price. And is there a budget or is there a limit for what kind of price of items they should go for, or are they just going for kind of anything that looks good? And for example, he said, what about if there's an item with £150, for example, would you be happy if we came back with something like that, or would you want a higher product or a lower product, or what are you kind of looking for? And then Rachel said that they needed something with a higher price, because obviously at the end of the day, it's whoever sells the most wins. Trey basically said to the team that he trusts them to choose the right items, and Steve basically said, well, actually, I think all we need to basically do then is avoid the low-cost items, because yes, you can sell thousands of chocolate bars, for example, but if you're selling one massive thing, that's going to be outcosting all of those small things put together. For the girls team, Raj basically said that her and Maura would be presenting with Flo, with obviously Phil in the gallery, and obviously that meant Paul was also going to be in the gallery. And then Flo said, and then Raj said that Flo was also going to be presenting a little bit at the end. Flo jumped in straight away, said, well, hang on, we've got 3 girls on the screen only, we haven't got any kind of inclusivity or diversity here. So she thought a diversity split was good, to kind of at least have one of the 2 boys on the screen. And she said, yeah, I was thinking about that, but I'm going to have 3 girls on the TV, 2 boys in the gallery. And then, yeah, I think she just quickly changed her mind, and I think Paul ended up being in the TV, and then obviously Flo was obviously in the gallery with Phil. So very messy kind of initial conversation, because I think you kind of had Phil coming up with suggestions for things, and obviously Flo was talking about that diversity side. So I think they were all just a bit confused. Raj should have taken control a little bit more. But yeah, let's see how they did with the actual challenge. For the boys team, Trey said that it was going to be him and Rachel presenting, Stephen Falusa in the gallery. I guess with a team of 4, it's easy to just split half and half. That's fair. Guy and a girl presenting, and a guy and a girl in the gallery. And then Trey basically said that for his team, he just wanted them to have fun. And then obviously people will bring out their wallets. And he said to Rachel, let's have fun and let's make lots of money. For the girls team, Paul and Phil had a chat. And they basically obviously went off to pick the common items. So at this point, it was literally the girls doing one thing and the guys doing another thing. But I guess later, that's obviously when she changed it. And then Paul basically said, yeah, we need to kind of pick items that are known, but also things that are unique. Obviously, we don't really know then whether we're going for items that are high or items that are low in price. And there was also no strategy there at all. So I guess the both of them kind of were in agreement that they actually didn't know what they were doing. I guess this is when one of the teams, so I think this is the boys team, so Trey's team, they were off to the TGC jewellery channel, and I think this is when both teams kind of had a little bit of a demonstration of how to do TV, getting tips and tricks, how to sell yourself, what to do, what not to do, for example. And for the boys team, Trey needed to learn about the items. So this, I believe, was the warehouse manufacturer. So I don't think they actually went to the TV place at this point. They actually went to a manufacturing place, which actually I think was as part of this company. He said to Rachel they need to learn as much about the products as possible. And I think the first item was an energy efficient fan, with Rachel asking a lot of questions. What does this button do? What is this feature? What will people use it for? What if I did XYZ? With the retail price being $99.99. And obviously that's the price that it's never changed from. So I guess here Trey's kind of gone in with a listening ear. Rachel's gone in with loads of questions, so I guess that means there's some sort of good team there. And then for the girls team, Raj also went in with her little group of girls, and they said that the energy item looked quite nice. It didn't look like it would stand out in a house in a bad way. With Flo saying that Raj has a lot of energy, so she's got a lot of interest, I guess, in this item. And then obviously the other halves of the team went to other places to find other items. So this was the luxury one massive item, and then you also had the other smaller items as well. So Stephen Faluso went to another venue in North London, and they found items such as a paddling pool that had accessories, which Steve picked up on that it's not just a pool, it also had other things included with it. A grass trimmer, which I believe the retail price was $149, and he said it was a good high price. And there was also a walking machine, £399, with Steve saying, obviously for these types of channels you do get sometimes an older demographic, so they also might be watching, and they might just want something to do while they're at home, even just watching the TV with this walking machine that they can just sit and their legs will just move like this. And then again back to Paul and Phil, so both for the girls team. Well, actually, Faluso, just to finish up on the Faluso and Steve point, she said we need to get high ticket items, and we actually make a lot of money if we just sell a few of them rather than a lot of the cheaper items, which is kind of what I said before anyway. So back to Paul and Phil. This is on the girls team. I think here they were choosing items they thought they liked. It wasn't necessarily items they think they would sell. I think they were choosing items that they actually genuinely liked. So Paul said he was happy with the small 2-man tent. Phil also picked up a washing pen, so I guess that was basically like a pen that you scrub on a shirt and it would rub off all the stains. And he said this sort of thing would cause a lot of problems for a lot of people, i.e. the companies that are like, you know, stain remover companies and things like that. And then again, this is when Karen jumped in and spoke to the camera, saying that they seem to be choosing items they like, and they're obviously not the target audience, so they should be picking things that they think will actually sell. Back for the boys team, they had a high-tech face mask. So Trey explained that it had a high ticket price, seemed to be easy to sell, easy to demonstrate. With the girls team, she actually said, Maura said that she wanted to have one of those masks, and apparently there was either 150 in stock with 50 ready to sell of the fat freezers, so 150 masks and 50 of the freezers. With Raj and Maura basically both saying to Flo that they wanted to go for the electric fan. Flo asked whether they had the ability to sell more than 50, so maybe you should go for an item that there's more than 50 of it, so you're not just limited to what the stock limit is, you're going for something that maybe you can sell a little bit more. And then Raj was basically jumping in saying, well, actually, you could potentially get people to buy 2, 3, 4 of them in different rooms as gifts and things like that. And then Flo said to the camera that Raj wasn't really thinking commercially, she just wants to have fun on TV. So I guess that's kind of what her plan was, to kind of just have fun. But also you need to think, this is a task. If you don't win, you are at risk of leaving the show. Paul and Phil continued, obviously, finding their items. That's, like I said, they had the stain remover pen, the neck pillow, which they advertised to their team was potentially for stress relief, goes around the muscles, and they obviously explained that to the 2 girls on their team. Paul said the only issue with the tent is obviously trying to get it packed away, with Raj saying that we'll try and work it out on the day, we don't need to worry about that now. So I think all of them were trying to just work out how to either put the tent up or down, and I guess on the day it was kind of, we're going to work it out, or we just don't put it down, we just leave it up and just leave it like that for the whole of the show. Back for the boys team, Steve and Feluso were presenting their products to Trey and Rachel, apologies, and they obviously presented the inflatable pool, the mini grass trimmer, and the resistance walking machine, which could be anywhere between $49 and $149.99. Feluso said that they wanted to obviously push the medical side of that walking machine, with Steve saying high risk, high reward. Trey explained that he needed to bring on his A game in order to shift these items, and obviously with the face mask, that was obviously a good purchase. So I guess he was kind of happy with what he and Rachel did, but he wasn't really happy with what Steve and Feluso did in terms of their item. For the girls team, Paul explained that his main concern was the price point of the premium item, and both Flo and Paul ended up swapping teams. So Flo was in the gallery with Phil, and then Paul was on the TV with Maura and Raj. Flo said that they should pick a number to pick as their like kind of lowest price, with Raj saying like, we don't want to drop the price too early, we need to kind of hold the price for at least the first 25-30% of the time. So I guess Flo was kind of asking how low can we go, when do you want us to kind of drop, kind of discussing that sort of thing. And then yeah, I guess for the first 30% of the time you don't want to be dropping the price, or if you do, you do it in small increments instead. All of them, the ones that were presenting on the TV, got a presenting masterclass, and Trey obviously was demonstrating what he would do as if he was live on TV talking to Rachel, and he obviously had the director talking to him, giving him instructions in his ear. He was getting quite distracted, and he was also trying to, for example, you know, the director said to him that someone's called in asking a question about XYZ. He had to not only listen to the director, carry on talking, but also then answer that question and also engage with the person that he was co-hosting with. So it's not an easy thing, presenting live on TV, selling a product you don't really know about, but I guess at the same time, you just have to be aware of everything at the same time. You're on TV, you need to look good, you need to make sure you're speaking, you need to make sure you're selling the item, listening to the director and answering the questions, and keeping your co-host happy all at the same time. So, sounds like a nightmare, but he did alright. And then, yeah, Steve, Feluso, Flo and Phil on their respective teams were all getting a demonstration on how to do the whole pricing situation, how to speak to their team from the gallery, and obviously how to kind of give instructions, not shout down the microphone, to make sure that, you know, they're selling in time, and that once the product is sold or not sold, you kind of just end the time and move on to the next thing. So back to the girls team. So Flo asked Phil, in terms of discussing the prices, how they were going to do it. Were they going to discuss every time, or did he have any ideas? And he basically said to Flo that he was happy for her to take a lead on this, and she said, well, actually, yeah, we are a team, so we do have to actually work together. I can't just be making all the decisions myself. For the boys team, Feluso explained they should drop the price, or they were dropping the price from £199 to $59.99. I think this was for the first product. So I think Trey and Rachel, or Trey was on live TV at this point, and apparently there was callers on the line, and I don't know what product this was, I can't remember. I think it was the first item, which may have been the fan. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest, I can't really remember. But I think Feluso said to Trey that Tracy's online, but she didn't actually say that. She said there's a caller on the line, and he's just gone, yeah, Tracy's on the line. Yeah, this was the item outside. I think this was the tent, I believe. There was something outside that him and Rachel picked. It was something outside, because he was standing outside advertising it. I think it was, I don't know, I'm not sure what it was. Anyway, Feluso basically was saying to him, sell it, Trey. She was giving him instructions down the microphone, kind of not shouting at him, but kind of giving him lots of instructions of what to say. And then when that item had finished, they were still actually live and rolling, and he said, I can't hear anything. Obviously the director was just like, shh, like, don't keep talk, you're actually live. The camera was still rolling. And he just quickly said to Feluso, like, don't be giving me too many instructions, don't speak too loudly, because I can't actually hear what the director's saying. So yeah, he shouldn't have had that ad lib thing on camera anyway. He should have known that he was still rolling until they say cut. But at the same time, yeah, I guess she was trying to give him too many instructions. But yeah, I can't remember what the item was, but it was something outside. I think it was the sports, something to do with the sports. Up next, so for Trey and Rachel, was the inflatable pool. So they're obviously both here together. And obviously neither of them actually went into the paddling pool at this time, so they were actually told by Feluso to just get in and do something, to either do some swimming, or to sit down, or to engage with the pool. And then to also go on to say that it's easy to carry and it's lightweight. So they both kind of were talking at the same time, and then yeah, Rachel explained that it was quite easy to fold up. And yeah, I think at this point she was like, okay, well, one of you needs to come out of the pool. So they ended up for some reason both coming out of the pool. So yeah, it was just a bit of a mess. It was kind of, they were both talking on top of each other, both talking at the same time, but eventually they both managed to get their points in, and then Feluso kept saying to Steve they were going to be doing a price drop to $39.99 for that. And I guess here Steve wasn't really involved at this point. He was kind of just sitting there letting Feluso take the lead, and I think at some point they did actually switch roles, but yeah, as of this point he wasn't really involved with that. And then again, yeah, Trey basically said, yeah, he was quite disturbed. It was quite distorted to obviously hear the director, so he wasn't really able to, again, hear what he was saying. So the first time, Feluso was too loud. Second time, I guess she was still too loud because he still couldn't hear what the director was saying. And yeah, he basically was just told to be careful. He told Feluso to be careful that she's not shouting. I think she said that to him. She basically just said, look, I'm passionate. So it was quite funny. She goes, look, I'm just passionate, okay? So I think she's quite funny because she's just saying it as it is. I'd probably do the same thing. I'm like, oh my god, I'm stressed. Like, quick, sell the item. And then Feluso, then for the next item, told Rachel and Trey to take it in turns when they're speaking, and potentially, yeah, for the item which was the mask, they could actually split the price. So if the customer wasn't able to pay the entire price, they could buy the item, not only share the item with someone else, but also split the price of the mask. So again, Rachel was kind of saying and relaying all the information that she was giving Rachel. And then they did a price drop, $229.99. And then the final offer, or the final item, was the seated walker with Trey and Vision, so he was kind of on his own here. So again, he was sitting down, talking about the walking machine, and yeah, he was explaining the item very, very well, and, you know, talking about how lovely it is to be using it, but he didn't actually do the demonstration. So I think Steve had to jump in here, telling him actually use the item, use the remote control, show how easy it is to use without having to actually get up. You just click a few buttons. And then Feluso said to him, pick it up, show the item to the screen so you can see the item actually moving on the screen. And then Trey also said, yeah, it's easy to store, and even if you have a pacemaker, you can use this item too. So I guess that's for somebody who maybe something wrong with their heart, or their heart's being controlled by something, they can actually still use the item as well. And then, yeah, the final price drop was to $199.99, with Steve actually saying to Trey and Rachel at the end that they both did really, really well, with Rachel saying that she's not sure they sold enough, and potentially could be up to the gallery as to why they failed this task. And then for the girls team, so Paul, Raj and Maura were obviously live on set. Up first it was Paul, so he was doing the inflatable neck pillow, and he was very, very good at, you know, getting his words out. He was very cool, calm and collected. I guess there was a few stumbles, but he was very shocked at how quickly the price drop was being dropped. So I guess that was a hint to those in the gallery to maybe stop bringing the price down. And he already sold 4 at this point, so they were wondering why. I think Phil was wondering why they were dropping the price down so quickly, and then Paul, even on camera, said, "Why are we dropping it so quickly? It's selling so well." Kind of, I think that's just a hint that, you know, stop bringing the price down, keep it as it is at the moment. And then, yeah, Flo basically said that obviously it was Raj's turn. She was in the kitchen doing the stain remover, and before she even started talking, she was live, and she already said, "I can't see myself in the top camera." Again, she was basically told by Flo, "You're on camera, you can't be saying stuff like that on camera, just get on with it," kind of thing. And then I guess, yeah, there was a lot of just wow that the stain remover was so good, but Raj wasn't actually given any information or any, backstory about the product. It was just wow, 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 it's great. I mean, it was a great product, but you need to actually talk. You can't just say wow. Phil kind of hinted to Flo to tell Raj to actually have a story or have some sort of anecdote or something. So she ended up speaking about potentially, if a child wants to have a chocolate bar before dinner and they're wearing a white shirt, if they do get chocolate on it, you can use this. And then Flo was giving her like a little few cues. For example, don't get caught in the queue. We don't really have long to go left. And the final price being $49.99, with Flo again jumping in saying you've got seconds left to buy, da 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 da. And all these kind of things that will make people go, oh my god, I'm going to buy it now quickly. As soon as Raj finished, Karen basically said that she was chaotic. She kept saying wow. Flo and Phil both told that the fan is a big seller. And the director kind of in the gallery said to Phil and Flo they actually sold 300 of these last week, so they could easily sell at least 300. It's just the way that you sell the items. So and he basically just said, he said to both Phil and Flo, it's a little bit messy at the moment because you don't really want them talking over each other, otherwise you won't sell them, and to explain to them to just talk one at a time. So Maura was on camera this time as well with Raj, and she was like, yeah, the item is $229.99. And I think here Phil said the final price, or the final price drop, was going to come in a minute. And I think Raj said, oh, we've only got 1 minute left for the item. So she was always a minute behind. So they said to her, no, the price drop's going to be here in a minute. And she goes, oh, we've only got 1 minute left. We've got 40 seconds left. No, 40 seconds left until price drop, and then you still have another minute. So yeah, she was kind of restricting their time. But again, yeah, her and Maura were very, very messy there. Yeah, Flo said 45 seconds till the final price, and she kept saying final price is, but you hadn't actually got that yet. Phil also said that they need to stop talking over each other. And again, Flo basically said it was a bit of a nightmare. They were speaking over on top of each other. And again, Karen jumped in and said to the camera, they needed to give facts about the item. They didn't listen to the instructions of not talking over each other. And again, similarly to the first two, it was just very messy. And then the final item was the summer tent, which I'm not gonna like laugh too much, but it was very funny. Like, it was Maura on her own advertising the tent, but she was talking so loud that I guess it was probably so crispy, or it almost sounded like as if she was shouting. I mean, she was shouting, but she wasn't. She was raising her voice or shouting so loudly, because I guess when you're outside you can't hear if there's you can hear the wind, but you can't hear how loud you sound in the wind. And I think Phil told Flo to tell her that she doesn't need to continue shouting. And Flo said that she needs to talk about how to use the item, not just say, wow, it's a tent. You need to actually talk about how to use it, maybe even get in the tent. And they were going to have a final price for that item of $19.99. The director said to Flo and Phil that the volume was too loud on the microphone. So, Maura continuing to shout was just coming through on the microphone. And then at the end, Maura just said, thank you for purchasing your tent. As if, hopefully hoping that people actually bought the tent. And then Phil said, that was intense. Raj said that the failure of the task is obviously going to be with both Flo and Phil, because they had no other information other than the price drops. And then for the boys team, Trey spoke. He explained that he spoke to over 100 million people. And then Steve's strategy was to have a higher price of items. So at this point we are in the boardroom. So this is Lord Sugar kind of asking both the teams what they've done and how they've felt as of now. Rachel and Trey both explained that they were a little bit concerned with the paddling pool, because obviously when Stephen Filoso brought this in, Trey said it looked a little bit too cheap. And then Lord Sugar said that Trey probably felt like a little bit of a celebrity, being able to talk to people on the TV. And he said that, Trey might even be one of those type of people to try and go through people's door cameras to try and talk to them in order to sell them anything. So they all had a nice little giggle there. Lord Sugar also said that Trey probably came across a little bit wooden on the TV when he was obviously watching it, because he watched the 2 hours of advertising from both channels. And he said that Trey should probably change his name from Trey to Tree. So that was quite funny. And then Trey said that he kind of probably felt like a little bit wooden because the product wasn't that great that they were given to sell. Trey and Rachel were also walking towards the camera, with Filoso saying to them that they were just so far away from the camera they needed to move forward. And in terms of the face mask, Trey asked whether he felt like they were getting any help from the gallery. And then Rachel said that in terms of the retailing price, what they could obviously get the price for, people could do this sort of thing at home with the mask and something like that. So it kind of was, yes, a very high priced item, but it's also something that you could do from home. And then Lord Sugar said to Rachel, well, actually, do you own one of these? And she said, yes. And he said, does it work? And she said, well, I think so, because the salon said that I looked good when I came out there the other day. So he basically just said, look, I'm not saying it in a rude way. I'm just asking, does it work genuinely? Because if it's actually a good item, then he might even invest in himself. And then for the girls' team, obviously Raj had taken the lead here. And she said that she wanted to have 3 people on the TV, with Flo saying that they need to have some sort of inclusivity or diversity, and then she needed to basically have some sort of guy on the TV. And I think Raj basically said, yeah, I was thinking about that, but I obviously just didn't explain that to the team at that moment. But I guess you do need to explain these sorts of things to the team, otherwise they're going to get confused whether you are actually going to change your idea later on or whether you're going to forget and stick with your original plan. So yeah, in terms of the going to do items, it was the girls team and it was the 2 boys. And then for the actual TV, Paul and Flo swapped. So Paul was with Flo, Paul was with the 2 girls, Maura and Raj, and then obviously Flo was with Phil in the gallery. And then, yeah, the first item, obviously with the neck pillow, Lord Sugar said that Paul was, what did he think about that? And Paul said that it was comfortable, and Lord Sugar said that he did a very, very good job. It came out very, very relaxed, and he, you know, he did really, really well. And Karen said that Paul actually managed to sell 37 of those items between the prices of $4.99 and $18.99, whatever their kind of range was, because they kept bringing the price down very quickly. And Lord Sugar asked what Phil and Flo did in this task, and I think Phil basically said he did a little bit more of the technical stuff, and it was Flo who was kind of doing the price drops. So I think Lord Sugar said, well, hang on, if you've sold that many items, why did you keep bringing the price down? You should have just left it as it was, and then kind of just let people just keep buying at that price, and then if you see it goes down a little bit, then you bring the price down a little bit. And then again, a little bit of, not banter, but a little bit of disagreement between Phil and Flo. So he basically said, yeah, he did other things, and she said whenever she would ask Phil for advice or whether she should bring the price down, he would always just say, it's up to you, you make the decision kind of thing. And then Karen also jumped in saying the gallery changed the price so quickly, they could have just kept the price up a little bit more. In terms of the stain remover, so this was for Raj, and Karen just said, wow. And Raj basically said she was waiting for the cue to come in from the gallery in terms of what to say, what to do, things like that. And then Lord Sugar jumped in and said, well, hang on, you actually said you could even have this as like a present for, you know, family, friends, whatever, or even for like a birthday. Like, why would you want to buy a fan for someone for their birthday? I'm sure some people would appreciate that, but I kind of agree that, yeah, there's other things you can buy instead of that. And I guess it did get a few laughs. But yeah, she didn't look very happy that, you know, she's kind of been embarrassed in front of everyone else. So I felt sorry for her in that moment, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, the way that you advertise the product. And then finally the fan. So again, Maura also, completely different situation to Raj. Raj was very just not a lot of words, just a lot of wow. Maura was a lot of words and a lot of just shouting and not violence, but just a lot of vocals. And yeah, Lord Sugar said that she did a lot of shouting, and Maura explained it was chaotic for her at that point because there was just lots of different things going on. And Flo said that, you know, from the gallery, she probably felt like she had a bit of an agitated voice. She wasn't angry. She was just trying to give guidance to them. And Maura said, no, that's absolutely fine. Like, I guess I was just stressed in that moment. In the end, Karen explained that for the girls' team, so for Paul's team, they sold 53 items at a total of £1,124.45, so still pretty decent. And then for Tim's team, which was the boys' team, which was Trey, Steve, Feluto and Rachel's team, they sold 21 items, so half the amount of items, but they actually got more of a profit, £1,603.79. So I guess what Steve and Feluto basically said from the beginning was, it doesn't really matter how many items you sell, it's the price of the items that you sell. So, I mean, for both teams to get over 1,000 was obviously incredible. They obviously both teams did great to even get anything. Obviously they're not professionals in the TV world, but yeah, it was great that I'm glad both teams both did well, but obviously one team did just that little bit better. And then Trey said that's the first team for Team Supreme, so obviously the boys team have never won, so it was nice to actually for the boys team to have a win. And they were treated to the rooftop bar for food and drinks, with Raj saying well done and obviously smiling on their way out. Trey said that the strategy for his team was all about team, all about teamwork, all about putting other people first. Steve said he's glad that he switched teams. It was kind of like he was the lucky charm from the other team, brought onto this team. Rachel said She was obviously under a lot of pressure, but happy with the results that happened from the team. And then for the other team, Paul basically said to Flo that what her intention was in terms of dropping the price so much. And she basically said that she did ask Phil for kind of help and, you know, to know like any form of guidance as to whether she should go drop the figure down or not, and that he just basically said it was all up to her. And if she was to choose someone for the failure of the task, she said that Raj was the failure. Maura also jumped in saying that she didn't realise that she was shouting. And then Phil said to the camera, the failure of the task was the girls selling. And then Raj jumped in and said that she thinks Flo is responsible for the price drops. So kind of everyone is putting everyone under the fire here. So Maura and Raj for their not great selling, Flo for bringing the price down too quickly, and then yeah, that was it. Raj again for obviously yeah, not taking control of everyone else as well. So yeah, Raj twice basically. And then Lord Sugar basically said to all 5 of them that this was obviously the challenge, that they had 24 price drops, with Flo basically jumping in straight away saying it was my decision to do the price drop. And she actually mentioned again that she was speaking to Phil, asking whether she should lower the price or whether she should stick at what she was, and that it was kind of ended up just being her decision. And then Phil said he had other things that he needed to focus on, and she said, yeah, but we still need to act like we're in a team. We are in a team. We're a team, very small team. So we need to have as much input from all of the people as possible. And then, yeah, Phil just said, yeah, we had our own things to do. And then Maura said to Raj that obviously she knew that Raj's vision was to hold the price for as long as possible, not just to bring the price down straight away. So if they could have kept those prices up higher, then yeah, they probably could have made even more of a profit, potentially have even won. They didn't do great, but then they probably would have taken it a little bit more seriously, or they would have done better, or potentially even if they had a different product, that could have worked as well. But yeah, all hindsight is a great thing for all of that. And then Lord Sugar said to both Maura and Raj that they actually both frightened people off with kind of the ways that they were acting on the TV. And actually after Paul had done his little slot, that why didn't they use him a little bit more? Why did they just let him do one product and then just kind of push him to the side, and then they just wanted to take over? And he actually ended up saying that there was a lot of complaints from the company for how they both acted on the TV, with Maura saying she didn't realise she was shouting. And Lord Sugar again said to Phil, look, you're 9 out of 9 tasks on the losing team. And he just said he's had a lot of knockbacks, but he's got a lot of resilience and he's just going to keep fighting and keep going, basically. And yeah, Lord Sugar basically asked Raj whether he was like a good value member of a candidate, like being in the process. And she basically said no. And Lord Sugar looked at her and said no. And she basically said, yeah, Phil's not really good value in the process. I'm just using my gut instinct. I've been on the winning team 8 times in a row. This is my first error, my first mistake, things like that. And then Phil jumped in and said, well, hang on, you can't just use the wins and losses against me. You're like, yes, I've been on the losing team 9 times, but that's not purely down to me. It's the team that you have around you. And I think Raj basically said here, she didn't say it exactly like this, but I think she basically said the reason their team was lost is because Phil has moved over from a different team. So Phil basically backed himself up and said, yeah, you can't just use it against me. Yes, I've been on the losing team every time, but you can't use that as your real excuse to get rid of me. I've actually tried to get involved with the tasks as much as I have been able to try. Raj basically said that this was the first error that she has made, and yeah, she's made her mistake and she'll obviously work from it and obviously make sure to not make mistakes again. And then, like I said, Phil basically jumps in here and said, yeah, you can't really... Oh, fuck it, I've said all that bullshit already. Anyway, that's fine. Lord Sugar then jumped in and just said, Paul, I'm going to just like clear up the mess. You go back to the house. And then obviously, yeah, basically not involving him because he was actually the best seller. So he was kind of let off the hook because he didn't do anything wrong. And then it was obviously Maura, Raj, Phil and Flo, who were obviously the 4, coming back to Lord Sugar. So they all went outside to have a little sit down while he was discussing with Karen and Tim. And then Karen basically said that Raj doesn't get it. Both the product and the price would have sold purely on their own if there just weren't presenters in the room. So the fact that there was people there trying to flog the items off actually made the item not sell. Tim explained that Maura is chaotic, a little bit all over the place. Karen said that about Phil. Flo accepted responsibility for the price drop. And he could have actually given Flo some instructions in terms of not dropping the price so quickly, but he didn't. He kind of just sat there. And then Tim also said about Flo that she didn't hold the price and she just panicked. So I guess not the worst thing that's happened in this challenge, but I guess not the best either. Lord Sugar asked straight away, like, what do you think kind of were the failures in the task? And I think Maura just jumped in and said, look, I'm going to take responsibility for my presenting. I should have maybe taken my earpiece out of my ear and just been my genuine normal self. And Lord Sugar asked her, well, who do you think should be fired? And she just said, not me. So that was quite not me, very defensive. She said potentially one from each side should be fired. Kind of either her or Raj, and then either Phil or Flo, because obviously them on the TV was not great, and the other two in the gallery were also not great, hence why they were in the boardroom. Flo basically said that she took ownership of the mistakes that she made. She actually asked Phil for feedback, wasn't actually able to get that feedback because he didn't say anything. And Phil said that Raj already has had a shot on him and he's not the reason they've lost the task. And then I guess he also had Flo basically saying, look, I'm not happy with you because you didn't actually help me. You kind of just left it all to me basically, and she either has or needs some sort of an apology, or he needs to take responsibility for the loss of the gallery part of the task. And he said, look, if I'm responsible, then I'll say I'm responsible if that makes you happy. And then all the three of the girls were kind of like, well, whoa, you can't say it like that. Like, what do you mean if you are happy? Like, you were doing the same thing as me, or maybe even less, so you can't really say it like that. And I think Maura also jumped in and said, well, hang on, Phil, you can't really say, if it makes you happy, I'll say I'm responsible. You are responsible because you and Flo are in the same room. And then he said, I didn't say that. And then they're having a little bit of a disagreement there with the girls. But yeah, that was kind of that. And then, yeah, I think Raj basically said to him he's not a team player. And I think he basically replied saying, I would not have got this far in the process if I wasn't a team player. So I applaud him on that, because he's got three girls shouting around him, which you just want to put your fingers to your ears and just ignore it all. But I guess, yeah, it is a team challenge, so he must have done something, whether it's saying something or asking a question or whatever, in every single task. Yes, they lost every task, but he made it a better loss rather than a worse loss. So I get it, he is resilient, but he does need to start winning tasks, otherwise he could be slapped out of the boardroom. And then Raj basically said that, oh yeah, Lord Sugar basically said that with Raj, her selling skills were not very good and the gallery was very hectic. Maura turned people off, and actually the project manager should have taken her off of the TV and kind of put somebody else on instead. So I guess, yes, that is Maura's fault, but Raj was the project manager, so I guess that just made me click a light in my head of like, oh my goodness, so maybe it's Raj that's responsible. And then he just said, yeah, Raj is responsible for the failure of the task, so Raj was fired from the process, with Karen saying to her, good luck. And then Flo explained, well, Lord Sugar said that Flo had explained that she'd taken responsibility, and that obviously Maura before said it should be a 50-50% of who should go and who should stay. And Lord Sugar said he looked at Maura and the side obviously Raj was sitting on, saying, I see it more of 70-30, so 70 for Maura's side in terms of mistakes and 30% for Phil and Flo, and said, actually, Maura, you're also fired. So double firing, which I didn't expect to happen. I know Maura and Raj were both the two weakest out of this team, and I'm glad Phil and Flo stayed for now. But yeah, I think it was the right decision to get rid of the two that just messed it up on the TV part. Project manager probably shouldn't have been on the TV. She should have been in the gallery making sure that, you know, price wasn't dropped by this much or whatever, but she didn't. And then Maura was just, yeah, lots of shouting on the TV. And then, yeah, Lord Sugar then was, I guess Flo was in the clear at this point. She was fine. And he said that he's probably going to have voices talking to him saying, you're looking at this fellow who's kind of lost 9 times, 9 challenges, 9 tasks, and he's still in the process. And he basically just said, Phil, on the next task, you're going to be the project manager, and if you lose, you're out of the process. So a lot of pressure here for Phil, because if he doesn't win as project manager, he's gone, and he misses that position in the top 6. And then, yeah, Raj basically explained that she's going to take ownership of her mistakes, but she's going to carry on fighting. She looked a bit upset in the car as well, which obviously you would, as you've kind of, you know, been removed from the process. But I guess, yeah, this is that thing of all of the fired candidates will either then go on and have great successes, or they'll kind of fall back to reality and then maybe say, oh, maybe I'll do something else instead. And then for Maura, she said that she didn't realise that she was screaming, She just has a passion, and there's nothing that she regrets in the process at all. So she, again, has done everything that she could do. I did see her as one of the strong ones from the beginning, but yeah, I think in the last couple of tasks, she's kind of just sat back a little bit, or been a bit too vocal, or, I mean, in this task, very vocal, almost breaking microphones. But yeah, I had a feeling that she wasn't going to get to the final. I just didn't know when she was going to go until, obviously, this task. And then back at the house, Paul said that potentially he thinks Raj and Maura will both be going, and whether it's a triple firing that Phil's also gone as well. He basically had the idea that Flo was definitely coming back. It was just either the 2 girls are gone and Phil, or the 2 girls are gone and Phil comes back. Trey basically said, well, in terms of Phil, is that based on historical reasons or because of this task? And Paul said, yeah, purely just because of historical reasons. He's lost 9 out of 9 tasks. And the other guy that also lost 8 out of 8 or 7 out of 7, whoever it was, a couple of weeks ago, he is also now fired. So they thought Phil was going to follow in his footsteps. And then obviously Flo came in first, Phil came in after. They were all very happy to see them both, I guess. And Phil basically said it doesn't get any easier from here. And he basically revealed what Lord Sugar said to him, that he's the project manager on the next task, and that if he loses, he'll be instantly fired from the process. So we have 7 people left. So I would say the 3 girls, we've got Flo, very confident, she's just very with it. I think she's very, very good. I think she'll definitely make the final. You've got Rachel, who again, very with it, very, you know, giving her opinion on things, kind of like the female version of Phil. I think her and Phil are both on similar wavelengths. I think she just gets involved more, and obviously she's had a lot more wins. And then for Luso, again, she's quite funny, she's quite comedic, she is obviously smart. And I guess, yeah, I don't know what background she comes from in terms of her like industry or experience and things like that, but I think she does have a lot of good input. It's just, does she have a lot better input than the other girls or the other guys in the process? So that's the 3 girls. Steve, I think, is great. I think he's very confident, he's very outgoing, he's very adaptable for the different challenges. I also find him really hot, so I really hope he does make it to the final 4 at least. Paul, again, absolutely great. He's obviously confident in speeches, confident in meetings, confident in, you know, being project manager, which I think he's been 2 or 3 times now at least. Phil, I do feel sorry for him because, yes, he has been on the losing team every single time, so he does have to win the next task, otherwise that's him gone. But I think there's potentially a chance for him to go a little bit further, at least to the top 6, at least win the next one, and then maybe he gets fired, or get to the final 4 and maybe come 4th, 5th, something like that. I think would be respectable for him. The fact of how difficult his process has been, it's literally loss every time, and if he can still get to the final 4 or 5, that'll be incredible. And then finally Trey, again, I think he's very confident, very bubbly, very, you know, very with it, and very people-wise, very good at communicating, but I don't know if it's a little bit too overconfident or a little bit too, you know, unbearable for some people, because obviously you've got some of the quieter ones in the process, and then you've got him, who's kind of like one of the louder ones. So yeah, I'm not really sure what's going to happen next, who's going to go next, but we know project manager for one team is Phil, project manager for the other team is whoever. And I think the teams have actually changed as well, because at the end of the episode we saw Trey move from this team to this team. So I think on this team you've now got Steve, Feluso, Rachel, literally 3 of them. I think they're all good, but I don't know if that team is going to win on their own. Potentially they could. I think they're 3 of the, well, all 7 of them are good, hence why they've all got to the final 7, but I think that is a good strong team. But then the other side, you've obviously got Flo. You've got Flo and the 3 boys. You've got Flo, Trey, Paul and Phil. So Phil's lost every task, but he's confident. Flo's very confident. Paul is very, very good at public speaking, and Trey is also quite confident. So you've got some more confident ones on that side. The other team are more quieter, but could the quiet team beat the louder team? Let's see what happens. But yeah, I don't want to put any predictions in, but I think my top 5 will probably be Steve, Flo, Rachel, Paul and Phil. I think Feluso and Trey are probably the next 2 to go. But yeah, I think Flo and Rachel definitely top 5. Steve, Paul, Phil, Trey and Feluso the next 2 out. But yeah, I mean, if I was to pick a top 3, I would probably pick... I don't think Phil's going to make it to the top 3. Paul, I think, will definitely make the top 3. Again, Steve, I think, will make top 3. I think Paul, Steve, Rachel and Flo are my top 4. Top 3, I would probably say Paul, Rachel and Flo. I don't think Steve will get to the top 3. And then if I had to pick my top 2, got Paul, Flo and Rachel. I think Flo is good. I think Rachel is good. I do think Paul is good. I don't know. It's difficult between Flo and Rachel. They're both very strong. They're both, from the very beginning, I knew they were strong. I guess Flo has made a few more mistakes. So it just depends on the business plan. But I would say Flo, Rachel and Paul are my top 3. So I don't really know what the business plans are like. I don't know what companies they're going for. I don't know, what industries they wanted to go into. But I think they would be my top 3. The other 4 gone as of now, but I don't want Steve to go. But anyway, let me stop fanboying over Steve. But yeah, if you did enjoy my review, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We have 7 candidates left: Feluso, Rachel, Flo, Trey, Paul, Phil, and Steve. How could I forget Steve? But yeah, if you did enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until my next review, thank you for watching, and goodbye.